Now, I'm going to do a quick analysis of what Danelle is saying here. And just to clarify, I do not go to her TikTok. Her TikToks get posted in our public groups, and then I have the chance to rebut to them. And we have a chance to comment under it. Because she is speaking out for Darlie Routier, as if Darlie is innocent. People might ask, well, what are you worried about? She's on death row. I find the lies that she tells about this particular case, about her sister being innocent, and many of us in the groups, we all find these lies to be despicable. So we want to do the best we can to dispute and debunk the lies on behalf of Devin and Damon Routier. That's what we do. There's nothing personal against Yumi. It's nothing personal against Danelle. I would not want to be in the position that she's in where I didn't accept what the courts came up with about my son's case. I would not want to feel that way. I would not want to be in such a position where I felt the need to mush fake everything about my son's case and lie to the public and say that he did not do that to Braden. I would not want to be in her position. Danelle is a good, strong woman. She's really feisty. But again, she came to our groups. She tried to tell us about herself, and she got told about herself because she was rude about it. You can see the stress that's in her life by these right here. It looks like she hasn't slept for a while. But let's listen. This might be a long video because I'm going to go through it.
And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Danelle. I'm Darlie Routier's baby sister. And I'm bringing you updates on Darlie and clarifying on things that are misrepresented or misinformation that's out there.
She has never once came to debunk, and my channel is out there for supporters to see. And very few of them come under there to say, hey, Bryan, this isn't right, and here's the proof. They don't do that because they know better. Even Rich Prater, I've asked him, go ahead, let's just comment on YouTube about it, and we can not fight about it. You know, he's commented on a couple of my YouTubes, but let's not fight about it. And Rich runs a channel over there, RJP Darlie. If you type that in, you can see his channel. And another thing I do is I promote them. Danelle's on Fugate 1982 on TikTok. I promote them because I want people to go look. Rich says that it's very important to know both sides, but he doesn't promote our channels. He only promotes the supporter channels. Why does he do that? It's like he doesn't want you to know the other side. If Danelle doesn't mention my name, she doesn't mention my channel. She doesn't say, come on, you guys, we got this case together. Let's get into there and prove him wrong. She doesn't do that. As long as they're civil to me and they don't go, well, your son's case, then I'll be nice to them. That's the bottom line on it. But they don't do that because they fear the truth. So let's listen.
So this is the update version. So we're not well at being idle, and because of that, Darlie wanted for us to collect contact information for anybody that might be a valuable resource in her case. So anybody that called in leads or tips, anybody that was of interest, or somebody that we couldn't rule out, or all of those individual players, anybody that knew the family on a personal level, like we're
So what she's saying here is this case is what, 1996, 28, 29 years old. The IP of New York has picked up her case 4 years ago. This is the second time that Danelle has come out. First time she said, the IP told me that anybody with any leads to contact them. With any leads to contact them. After 4 years of having them. But they keep telling us, oh, the testing, she's going to be out. But she's asking any leads to the IP. Any leads. So I called the IP and I said, you know, she's out here saying that she wants the public to call the IP with any lead. So when you get flooded with phone calls like Stephen Cooper did, and if you can read The Cult of Darlie from the Texas Observer, he got barraged with phone calls from people with silly leads, and it deflects from them to be able to do their job and get the case done. But here we are after 4 years of them having the case, her asking for people just that knew Darlie, anybody that might have any leads, to call in or get a hold of her with any leads. They're still looking for a needle in a very fucking huge haystack. But let's listen.
Piling this master list of all these people that might have information or could speak in Darlie's character defense or
She's saying they might have information. Now listen to what she goes on to say.
any of those things. So it's a big list of people. And in the process, we have discovered that I'm going to say 9 out of 10 of the leads that were called in on June 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, all the way to the 20th. I think that's the farthest one I've seen written down. All of those leads were never touched.
Okay, so if she has found out that these leads have never been touched, right? And so she claims, right? They were looking and they saw that some of these leads had never been touched. There was a lot of them that were. They spoke to Angel, who the hell was that girl? Rickles. They spoke to a lot of people. But if she found out that these leads have never been touched, why is she not on here showing us these leads that have never been touched so they can be touched? You know, there's a famous saying from a Darlie supporter that says, "Oh, just throw it at the wall, see if it sticks." I kind of like that one. Let's go.
A lot of them say not related or no answer when they try to call back. Each lead was assigned to a specific.
No answer when they tried to call back. First she said they weren't even touched. But now she's saying, well, they did try to call these people and there was no answer. And if she had these leads, it would tell who they were calling. So if you really were trying to find her innocence, and you think that you would call them yourself, there's nothing wrong with picking up a phone and calling anybody. There really isn't, especially if you're trying to prove your sister is innocent.
Police officer, you can tell that some were more diligent than others in their follow-up.
Some were more diligent than others. But she first told us that they weren't being followed up on. Now she's saying they're diligent, and they tried to call back and people didn't answer. Things like that.
But none of them actually had contact with the individual that called in those leads. Why is that important? Well, number one, it really does narrow down our claim. Okay, sorry, phone call. So it just kind of proves the tunnel vision. Get down, dog.
If there was tunnel vision, why would they be calling these people back and getting no answer? You said some of the detectives were more diligent than others. So where's the tunnel vision if they're actually looking?
Tunnel vision was a major factor in Darlie's case. And, I mean, it's pretty obvious when on June 7th, 1996, at 8 a.m., they're already telling these leads these people that are calling in tips and leads, they're already saying it's not related or we've already got it figured out.
Okay. Could you present that where they said that? What time they said that? Who they said that to? And then go back and contact that person that they didn't get an answer from. Can you do that? Or can you just sit here on TikTok and tell us that's what happened?
One person that we were able to get contact information on told us no one ever reached out.
So one person that you were able to get contact information on, which means that you were looking them up, which you got a good reason to look them up. I'll give them that. They told you.
Not one time. And when she called in her tip, and it was a pretty relevant tip.
Okay, so what is the tip? What is it? If it's pretty relevant, who is this person? And you're going back to look at these people that said something about the case. But I've got a grand finale for you here. Not a grand finale. You're going back to say, to ask these people about the case, what happened, right? You're looking for names of somebody that might have come into that house on June 6, 1996 and killed Devin and Damon Routier and left Darlie for dead. You're looking for names, right? That's what you're doing.
When she called in her tip, they told her, don't worry about it, we've got it figured out.
Okay, let's see what the tip was.
She called back later that night and said, I really think you should look at.
All right, so they told her not to worry about it, and she called back and got an answer. Okay, let's see.
Into this vehicle more. It was seen the night of the crime. It was very suspicious, whatever. And they told her, we've got it already figured out. You don't have to call back.
Okay, so apparently this tipster called in about a car that they saw. The fact of the matter is on the night of the murders, they did stop a black car. They did pull teenagers out of that car that were in the area. They did do that. And they were not the people that Darlie described. 4 of them.
That's a problem. So anyways, that being said,
that's a huge problem when you're trying to find the names of people that could be involved in this case, when you're trying to, give tips. You're trying to do everything that you can to find out the names of people who may have come into that house or may have knowledge of someone else that came into that house that night, on June 6, 96. It is a huge problem, and I agree with that.
I'm very concerned that how many other leads were not even written down?
Yeah, lots of leads were not written down. Apparently, these leads were not written down. Okay. It's very important when you don't follow a lead. I agree with her 100% here that it's very important when they do not follow a lead. And her reaching out to get these names of people that may have came in the house or know who came in the house or have evidence, I agree with her 100% here. That she's right. It's a problem.
How many other people had information that they tried to give to the police? We know of several.
Now, other people that they tried to get information to the police. Now, listen to her closely, because I do.
That were personal, close family friends that tried to call in some type of a lead, and those leads don't exist in the log of leads that were written down.
They don't exist in the logs of the lead that were written down. Then how do you know about them? Why don't you tell us what those leads were? You could, if you did this the correct way, and just put the evidence out there of these leads that you're talking about, you might be able to convince people that ultimately think that Darlie's guilty, that she might be innocent. You could do it. If you backed up what you said, you could do it. I got an open mind about this case.
So my point to the story is, if you or somebody you loved lived in Rowlett in 1996, ask them, did they have any information on the Darlie Routier case? Were they around Rowlett in?
So now, 28, 30 years later, just ask people in Rowlett, what do you know about the Darlie Routier case? I'll tell you, I did an experiment years ago where I joined the Rowlett, Texas Facebook groups, and I did exactly what she's saying here, and the consensus was that she's guilty. She's guilty. Test it for yourself. Join the Rowlett, Texas Facebook groups and pages, and ask about the people that think Darlie is guilty or innocent. And about 90% of them think that she's guilty to this day. I did it a few years ago. If I have to do it again and prove it, I will.
1996, June 6th, 1996. When Darlie went to bed on June 5th, 1996, everything was perfect and normal and fine. Perfect in the sense that nothing's ever perfect, but a good life.
Perfect and normal and fine, a good life. Let's stop this right here real quick. I'll come back to it. It's at 5:08. Well, no, I don't even need to do that. You can just type in the affidavit of Darren Routier, He said he and his wife on that night got in a verbal disagreement, and she asked him for a separation that night. But here Danelle says her life was perfect. When you're looking for a separation in your marriage, your life's not perfect. There's things going on. There's a little bit of turmoil. But here she lies.
Life. And when she woke up that morning, it was hell on earth. And the police completely disregarded 99% of the information that was given to them.
99%. So they convicted her based on 1% of the information that was given to the courts. 1%. That's what she wants everybody to believe. That the police disregarded 99% of their investigation, and that Greg Davis, the prosecutor, he based everything that he was saying on police reports, forensics, and stuff like that. But she wants us to believe that 99% of that was disregarded, and that she got convicted on only 1% of the evidence that was presented against her.
Solely to focus on what one non-investigator told them.
She's going to tell you that James Cron is not an investigator.
Cron was not a police officer. He was not a crime scene investigator.
He was a police officer in Dallas. Then he became a CSI and had his own company. Let's stop this here for a minute. In James Gilbert Cron's obituary that was put out for his family and friends and all that came to see him off, right? It's interesting to know that he was born just a few miles from me. The family moved to Dallas. He graduated from Sunset in 1958. James enlisted in the Air Force in 1967 and served until 1963. That's when he went into police work. After being honorably discharged from the Air Force, he returned to Dallas, where he soon joined the Dallas County Sheriff's Office. He was a commander in the crime scene search section and worked for the Sheriff's Department for over 30 years. She said he wasn't a CSI. No, he wasn't just a CSI. He was the commander of CSI in Dallas at one time. And apparently they put this lie out for all the family and everybody to see that. And none of the family said, man, he wasn't no crime scene. She's telling us he's not a police officer. He's not a CSI. In fact, he was the commander. And here's another obit for him in a different place. You mean they lied to his whole family? He was not a crime scene. He wasn't a police officer. He was a fucking sheriff. Posted on the 6th floor museum at Dealey Plaza. Their page. A jail clerk with the Dallas Police Department at the time of the assassination. Cron subsequently spent 30 years with the Dallas County Sheriff's Department, where he helped establish the department's first crime scene search section unit in 2007. Mr. Cron recorded an oral history and shared his experiences as a veteran crime scene investigator in a museum public called CSI Dallas. Well, let's see. I did find a long list of oral histories that were given in recordings at the 6th floor museum in Dealey Plaza. And unfortunately, it does tell where it was, when it was recorded. And on some of these other ones, you can click on it and hear the recording. But unfortunately, on this one, you cannot. But here it says that he's a veteran crime scene investigator and a law enforcement consultant. That's put out by the 6th floor museum. And I guess they lied, and that Danelle's telling the truth. Now, this is what Danelle wants to sell to the public. She wants you to believe, I've got her recorded saying, I would do anything for my sister.
Solely to focus on what one non-investigator told them.
He's a non-investigator. Then she says his name.
James Cron was not a police officer. He was not a crime scene investigator.
She wants you to believe that, when he was one of the top crime scene investigators and a commander of the crime scene investigation in Dallas at one time. He had more than 4,000 scenes with bodies before he stepped in to 5801 Eagle Drive.
And he told them at 6:30 that morning, well, looks like we don't have an intruder here.
Looks like we don't have an intruder here, is what he said. What's it look like now?
So that's a problem because he hadn't even.
Now, what's the problem is you trying to sell to the public that he wasn't a crime scene investigator when he was the exact opposite of what you're saying. He was one of the top crime scene investigators.
Collected any evidence yet. There's nothing forensically done yet. And this was a very difficult case. Like it would.
Right. He went in and he said on the news, it tells me, something ain't right here. There's not an intruder. And then he went and collected evidence, and it backed up what he initially felt. See, these crime scene investigators and police officers, sometimes they go on a hunch, but they have to investigate to back that hunch up, which is exactly what Cron did. And to this day, what's the intruder's name? What is it?
Would have been difficult to solve with really solid police work because it's most likely not somebody that we know. There's probably no personal connection to Darlie.
There's probably no personal connection to Darlie. This is a random person, she's saying now. So all those people say, that it was somebody that had it in for Darlie. She kept getting phone calls, blah, blah, blah. Bye-bye.
It's probably a random crime. That's why they're so hard to solve.
Probably a random crime. She was that come out of her mouth. It's probably a random crime. Probably. As opposed to somebody who knew Darlie, who knew that house.
But somebody knows something. Somebody saw something. And while we're working on things on the back end, I thought that maybe the community could help us as well. Did you see something that night? Were you around that night? Did you call in a tip that night? If you think you called in a tip, send me a message because chances are it didn't get written down and it was.
Well, the thing of it is, if you called in a tip 30-some years ago and you didn't hear anything back, are you just really going to leave it at that? Are you not going to demand that they look into your tip? Because I'm getting to a good point here. Are you going to not demand it?
Was never followed up on, and there may be information in your tip that could be huge, life-changing. So, and this goes for all crimes. If
So the IP doesn't really have anything.
you think you have information for a crime, don't hold back. It could be the most trivial thing to you, and you may think that it is not significant at all, but it could be the key that they need, that one missing link. So don't sit on it. Okay? Do me a favor and call in those tips.
Do a favor and call them into where? She's begging the public again to call in tips, which tells me and anybody with any logic that they were saying, oh, the testing's going good, blah, 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 well, she'll be out soon. They're wrong.
As quickly and as often as you can.
Quickly and continue to call. Call who?
And we're going to keep compiling our list of people that may be helpful, that may have seen something, that could testify.
What do you got to do? Shake their memory?
Testified to Darlie's good character. So far, I'm finding overwhelmingly positive responses.
If you're finding overwhelmingly positive responses, then why are you still asking people to call in? Why don't you post some of those responses? You can't. You can just tell us that you're getting them.
And I know that there's a lot of haters out there, and those haters tend to be really loud.
We tend to be really accurate, unlike yourself.
But that doesn't mean that there's a whole lot of them.
There's a ton of us. Some are just more aggressive than others, like you said. Some of us don't like it when you sit out here and lie to the public that they'll take the time to make videos. Most of us just stay in the groups and discuss it amongst ourselves. But you've got a social media platform to tell these lies, and I've got a social media platform to debunk them. People can decide what they want.
Just because they run their mouth a lot.
Yeah, we run our mouth a lot. Mm-hmm. But you're not debunking anything that we say. You're more than welcome to civilly and adult-like comment under any one of my videos that I put up about Darlie. You are more than welcome to do that. But you won't and you can't. There's been plenty of times where I've questioned you personally, and you're saying, oh, I'm not going to go into what Darlie Key said. I'm not going to go into Darren, and I'm not going to go into this because I wasn't there and it didn't happen to me. Those are your answers to me.
And they want their goal is to make the family look bad, which is so sad. We didn't do anything.
Our goal is not to make the family look bad. You do that on your own, like you just did here in this video. Our goal is not to make you look bad. We know that you love Darlie and you don't want to see her die. But if our goal is to make Devin and Damon, the conviction, look good. You're disregarding them, their lives. But I've got a tip and a lead for you because you've asked the community to do this. So I've got a tip and a really, really good lead for you if you just listen.
We're just trying to fight this injustice. So, anyways, keep me in your forefront if you think of something, or if you know somebody that lives in Rowlett or did live in Rowlett, or
She went into the Rowlett groups and she did not like it. The Rowlett groups did not have, they had no sympathy for her. None. She did not like it when she did this. And now she's asking other people to do it, to go in there and get their asses chewed.
or if you know somebody that was around that area, or in and out of that area, somebody that had family in that area, whatever, reach out and ask them. Just a feeler, just to see if anybody has anything.
Put your feelers out, which is what I do.
Because people remember that was traumatic for everybody that was involved or touched by it, and those tentacles reached so far into the community without us even knowing. There's children now that were Devin and Damon's age that want to help solve this case.
Okay, where are they at? I know that one of their good friends, Jonathan Gorsuch, where his father, William Gorsuch, testified at trial, we haven't heard from him. So where are we at with that? Matter of fact, I'm going to look Jonathan Gorsuch up and put my feelers out and see if I can find him. Because I'm telling you, I spoke to his mother. She told me not to. I asked her if I could use the recording, and she said she'd rather not. So I'm not putting it out. I shared it with Pam. So maybe I'll try and get a hold, put my feelers out and ask Jonathan what he thinks. Because he knows Darlie. He knew Devin and Damon. There's a couple videos of him out in the yard playing with Devin and Damon.
And that is such a beautiful thing. So, anyways, if you have a tip, if you saw something, if you know something, shoot me a message. You can always call the Innocence Project in New York.
There she goes again, calling the Innocent Project of New York. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to call them again and put my feelers out. And say, hey, she's at it again. I'm going to do it right here in a minute. I don't have to record it this time, but I am going to do it. Because, we're just putting our feelers out. We're just,
That's a wonderful resource to collect information. They can do a really good job. I'm only collecting people that like names and phone numbers of people that we can provide to them if it's needed in the future. It's a little cold outside, so my nose is red. And also I just started crying because God is good. Anyways, so
okay.
Y'all have a wonderful day.
Okay. This is where I've got a lead for her. All right? I've got a lead for her. Now, here's my lead for you, Danelle. Here's my lead for you. And it actually comes from Devin and Damon's father. All right? You need to follow up on this. All right? Let's let it move down a little bit here. Move it up a little bit here. Here's your lead. Here's your lead, Danelle. Here's your lead right here. Watch this. Here's your lead. Right here. There's your lead. That's one lead. And it's got multiple people in it. That's what your lead has. Multiple people in it. So what you should be doing is asking Darren, who are these multiple people that you spoke to about your insurance scam? Who are they? And as far as everything was perfect in her life on that night, why did he lie? Why did he lie here? That's one lead for you. That's one lead for you. You should be forcing Darren to name these multiple people. Name them. Because by God, they could have done it themselves. Right? That would be your answer for an intruder. But you skate around it. Let me find you something else here. Here's your lead right here. Here's another lead. Darren failed that lie detector test. And one important question that he failed on is, do you know the name of the person or persons that attacked your son and your wife? And he said no. And he failed on that question. Failed. So there's your lead. Why is that family not, if they really think that there was an intruder that came in there, why are they bypassing this whole Darren insurance scam thing? Why are they not demanding? See, they love him. They say he's doing well, but they're not pressuring him at all about why he failed this lie detector test that he was given by Brian Pardo. And let's listen to two other detectives tell about how it was done properly.
Jerry, as far as I know from my experience in watching polygraphs and being involved in them, this guy did this polygraph perfectly well.
Yep, I agree with you. We were misinformed.
Now he said we were misinformed. Now these two detectives, they hammered Darlie. And Darlie lied to him and everything else. But their conclusion was they weren't sure yet if Darlie did it or not. So, what are you going to say? They're not detectives?
We were told it was confrontational. It was confrontational
After he failed.
After he failed, the guy told him that.
Truth is, you wanted your wife dead. The truth is, you helped arrange for the attempted homicide. The truth is, it was all about money. That's what it's always been all about.
He failed it miserably.
Prior to that, the guy did it 1,000% right as far as I'm
This
concerned.
guy he mimics me. That's how I would have talked to this
Right.
guy.
I mean, look at this lie detector test. It appears he failed it. And as a result, he knows who the killer is.
What did this all mean? Was Darren responsible for killing his own children? Was he covering up for Darlie? Or was he purely a victim himself, being wrongfully accused?
He had some juggle things there that weren't explored.
Right. Supposedly the intruders could have been a setup for a burglary that went real bad because Darren was out there. You know, he had done an insurance scam before, or at least contemplated one. This could have been another one, and it just went ugly. It went real ugly, you know. So
The thing with Darren doing an insurance scam before, right? He claims that he told a person that it wouldn't bother him if his Jaguar came up missing. And that person stole the car. But that car was still in their possession on June 6, 1996. But let's go a little bit further.
there's a few things here.
As two former NYPD detectives, we had done this sort of thing hundreds of times before. But with this investigation, nothing was what it seemed. Around each corner, instead of answers, we only found more questions. Questions that can only be answered by Darlie herself.
Maybe 70 years of experience. Listen to every kind of crackpot, dirtbag, scumbag in the world, and you sit there and you're telling us that.
Now watch. They're going to ask her if she took a polygraph test. And I want you to look at the duping delight. She's playing stupid on it. This little clip, you can find it on To Hear Again on YouTube, which is Pamela Collins. You can find it. It's very damning for Darlie. She had only been in 10 years at this time.
Evidence that Darren may have been involved in a crime, it was time to go face to face with Darlie. Several people who had previously spoken to her warned us that she was a pro at telling her story over and over again. After all, she's been doing it for over 10 years.
They're sure waiting to fry this young lady because it's been since 1996.
Yeah.
It's 10 years already.
She's almost at the end of her appeals at this point. You know, I would think this death sentence is going to be carried out probably in the next few years.
That's the last.
Let's say a few more years, and that's about it.
The prison had strict rules about interviews. We'd only have 40 minutes and would have to talk to her through bulletproof glass. Darlie knew this was one of her last chances to convince people of her innocence. If her final appeal is denied, she'll likely be executed by lethal injection.
Let me ask you something. Did you ever take a lie detector test?
Yes, I did.
And what was the outcome of that?
Inconclusive, I think, is the word that they use.
Inconclusive?
Look at that. Look at that look on her face. She is lying her ass off right here.
Inconclusive, I think, is the word that they use.
Inconclusive.
Inconclusive, I think, is the word they said. Then why'd you come out of the Loose Derrick jail, the polygraph examiner, crying with your mother immediately after you took that test? And you were seen by people doing it. Look at that. That's a lie, and she knows she's lying. And they drilled her on purpose, and she did not hold up very well.
Right.
You know, your husband,
Right.
Darren, took a lie detector test.
Yes.
And he was asked questions.
Yes, I heard
about
about that later. Yes.
Actually, we saw the lie detector test, and he failed on a number of questions.
He said that the people that were involved in doing the lie detector test, he just said that they set him up.
They set him up. And when they do rig the polygraph exam, they set him up. Now listen.
Can I ask you one question?
Yes.
Do you still love your husband?
I still have love for my husband.
She touched her face. And she shook her head up and down to clarify.
If you were to leave here today, would you be with your husband?
No, I would not.
Now check this out. This is very important because I was watching it the other day. She names the person. All right? Because she can't, what are they going to do to her? She's already on death row. Darren can't name people and accuse them of a crime because he could be held liable for that. But she can't. She can't be held liable for that. So watch this.
Why?
Because I found out things that I didn't know about back then.
You didn't know the car was taken? Darren didn't come home and say, shit, somebody stole my car? You didn't know that? Wow, Darren's pretty sneaky, ain't he?
Like what?
Well, I found out that Darren was talking to somebody.
Somebody. They knew Barry Fife very well. Barry Fife had been to their house, according to Beja. They knew who Barry Fife was.
About having the house set up for an insurance scam, an insurance hit, whatever it's called.
Barry Fife?
Yes, Barry Fife. And they had talked about having his car stolen. And Barry took the car.
Car. And you didn't know? Your husband come home, his car's stolen, and you didn't know about it back then? You didn't know. You're fucking lying all the way through this.
And I was mad.
And I was mad. You was mad.
So if we're to believe that somebody broke in to burglarize your home that night, and I worked on a lot of cases. I was in the police department 20 years. I saw a lot of burglaries. This is a night burglar. This is a cat burglar. They rarely come in looking for weapons. They have their own weapons, and they take care of business. They just come in here to kill two little innocent children, kill them, and almost leave you for dead. We have to believe that.
Right.
Right.
If you didn't do it, then who did? You're trying to implicate your husband in this.
That's exactly what they're doing. Remember, she can name Barry Fife. Because what are they going to do, sue her? Darren can't name him. But he said multiple people. And he failed that lie detector test. So, Danelle, there's your lead. There's your lead. Right there. The answer to your intruder is the multiple people or Barry Fife. Why has this family never went after him? Why are they not demanding that Darren name these multiple people? That's your lead. And you can pick up the phone and call Darren now. You don't have to ask the community to do all that stuff. There's your lead.
I'm not trying to implicate my husband.
I'm not trying to implicate my husband. I'll look at her shaking her head no. That's deception.
Oh, I'm trying to tell the facts and the truth.
You're trying to tell the facts and the truth in the case. But you said Barry Fife stole your car. Where's the police record? Why was he not charged with it? Where's it at? You're lying. You're a liar just like your sister is.
Facts, but it sounds like you're trying to implicate your husband. Doesn't it sound like that to you?
For answers.
I'm looking for answers. Well, according to you, the answers would be in Barry Fife or these multiple people that Darren talked to about this insurance scam.
Had some financial problems. Is that enough to kill someone?
I know I did not kill my children. And if you will talk to other doctors and psychiatrists, people that have been attacked, people that have been in severe trauma.
The evidence points to nobody being in that house but you, Darren, and your children.
Now, somebody came in here and intentionally did it, Darren.
Somebody came into my home and murdered my children and me.
Nope. No, they didn't.
That is actual
They didn't murder
proof.
you, Darlie.
That is actual proof, she says. She's saying that is actual proof regarding the people that Darren asked and Barry Fife. If I was Darlie's family, I would be all over Barry Fife. You can find him. I did. You can find him. He's easy to find. You can find him to this day. Matter of fact, I just looked his name up the other day. I tried to talk to him once before, and his girlfriend, Donna, first she said he'd talk to me, then he didn't want to about the Darlie case. So I couldn't use it. That is actual proof. Darren's affidavit, she's saying, is actual proof. Right? She knew Darren was going to write that affidavit because Robbie Jean Key wrote one the same day saying that Darren came to his house asking him if he knew anybody that would break into his house. She knew this was,
Darlie, they
left
murdered
me
you.
for dead.
No,
Somebody
you left
does
your
not-
children for dead.
No, I did
You
not
left your children
murder
for
my
dead. You're
children.
sitting there and you're lying to us.
No, I'm not.
You're lying
Oh, yes, she is.
to us,
No,
lady.
I'm not.
We're looking at the killer right now.
Look at that look on his face.
Darlie Routier, you haven't shed one tear since we're sitting here.
So that makes me
Not
a
one,
murderer.
not a tear. You
don't
can well
know
up
what-
their minds,
you
but you
don't
can't
know
make
She sure was tearing up in her booking photo.
a tear come down.
You don't know. What I do and the tears I've cried when I am by myself.
There's your lead, Danelle. 45 minutes in. Thanks for watching this video. That just proves them to be liars. And justice for Devin and Damon.